Room number 6, the inverted witch. Some rooms are never meant to be open. The storm raged outside, relentless and furious. Rain lashed against the cracked windows of the Hillview Inn, a long-forgotten roadside motel sitting on the edge of a desolate highway. The neon sign flickered violently, buzzing with an eerie hum, as if whispering warnings to those foolish enough to seek shelter here. Inside, behind the wooden front desk, sat old Karamat, the motel's owner. His face was lined with deep wrinkles, his hands spotted with age, but his eyes held a darkness that spoke of things best left unspoken. The rusted bell above the door jingled weakly as Arman stepped inside, shaking off the rain. His camera bag slung over one shoulder, a cigarette dangling between his lips. He surveyed the dimly lit lobby. He had been to countless haunted places before, from abandoned hospitals to ancient graveyards. He had filmed it all. But tonight felt different. He approached the desk, tapping on the counter. "I need a room for the night." Old Karamat didn't look up at first. Instead, he stared at the key rack behind him, his lips pressing into a thin line. "Room 4 is empty," Karamat muttered. Arman shook his head. "I want room 6. The old man's breath hitched. His trembling fingers clutched the counter's edge. He turned his gaze to Arman, his expression unreadable, but his eyes were full of warnings. "That room," his voice dropped to a whisper, "that room is not for guests." A small smirk tugged at Arman's lips. He had heard variations of this before. "Don't go there. Don't stay there. Don't open that door." Every time it was the same. Fear bred superstition, and superstition made for great content. "Why?" Arman pressed. "What happened in room 6? Karamat hesitated. Then, after what felt like an eternity, he spoke. "There is something in that room," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Something unnatural." Thunder rumbled, shaking the motel's wooden frame. The light above them flickered. "You won't last the night," Karamat warned. Arman chuckled, pulling out a wad of cash and slapping it onto the counter. "I have lasted worse." The old man sighed, defeated. With shaking hands, he reached behind him and pulled out a single brass key labeled 6. His grip tightened around it, as if reluctant to let it go. "If you hear her," he paused, licking his dry lips. "Do not look." A shiver crawled up Arman's spine. He took the key, and with that, he walked down the dimly lit hallway toward room number 6. The moment Arman stepped inside, a chill washed over him. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of damp wood and something metallic. He closed the door behind him, the soft click echoing louder than it should have. The room was small, just a bed, a wooden dresser with a cracked mirror, and a single window covered in dust. The wallpaper was peeling at the edges, exposing rotting wood beneath. Setting his camera bag down, Arman exhaled, rubbing his hands together. "All right, let's see what all the fuss is about." He set up his camera, adjusting the lens to capture every shadowed corner. The EMF reader on his table blinked green. No signs of supernatural energy. But still, something felt wrong, like the room was watching him. Arman walked over to the mirror above the dresser, wiping away the dust. His reflection stared back at him, his dark eyes tired from years of chasing ghosts. But then, a movement. In the mirror, his breath hitched. His heart pounded against his ribs. The room behind him was empty, but in the mirror, a shadow moved. Slow, deliberate. He spun around. Nothing. Just the empty room, silent except for the occasional drip of water from the bathroom sink. Arman swallowed hard. He turned back to the mirror, his pulse quickening. And then, a voice, software, whispering. "Turn around." His skin prickled with icy dread. The whisper had come from behind him, and this time, when he turned, she was there, hanging upside down from the ceiling, her head where her feet should be, her feet stretched toward the ceiling like a grotesque puppet. Her long black hair cascaded downward, brushing against the floor. Her hollow eyes, void of light, void of life, locked onto him. Her arms dangled at her sides, twitching. Her lips curled into a slow, unnatural grin. revealing jagged yellow teeth. Then, she moved. Her body twisted unnaturally, her limbs cracking as she crawled toward him, upside down, her fingers scraping against the ceiling. The lights flickered violently. Click, click, click. Her fingers twitched. Her bones cracked with every movement. And then, she dropped, right in front of him. Arman stumbled back, slamming into the dresser. His breath came in ragged gasps. The woman, the thing, tilted her head. And then she laughed, a high-pitched, inhuman cackle that sent ice into his veins. "Who are you?" Arman gasped, his voice barely above a whisper. She didn't answer. Instead, she crawled toward him, her head still upside down, her long nails reaching for his face. He screamed. And then, darkness. The lights went out. Hours later, old Karamat stood outside room 6, his hands trembling as he held the key. No sound, no movement. He unlocked the door. The room was empty. The bed remained untouched, the walls silent, the floor undisturbed. The only thing left behind was Arman's camera, still recording. With hesitant fingers, Karamat pressed play. At first, only static. Then, a dim image flickered onto the screen, a reflection. Arman, standing in the mirror, his eyes were hollow, empty, his mouth was stitched shut, and behind him, she was there, smiling, watching, waiting. And then, the screen glitched, the camera shut off, and Arman was never seen again. Room 6 is still there, the door locked, the key long discarded. Some say if you listen closely, you can still hear the soft whisper. Turn around, but if you do, she will be waiting.
Hi everyone, don't forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already, I'll see you again with another creepy story. Until then, bye.